Welcome to Clay Shooter TV. Coming up in today's show, we got a special extended news bulletin from Beretta World. Drennan is reviewing the Yildiz Pro Black with a colour case hardened action and adjustable stock, as well as Fiocchi's F Black Fibre. Georgina's competition tip is all about gun fit. But first up, let's head over to Simon, who explains how to deal with missed targets in training and competition.
Welcome back to the new episode of Clay Shooter TV, and today I'm here with a few hints and tips that I hope will add some value to you for those targets that you keep missing. Okay, now it might be shots that you've taken in a competition, it might be for the general sporting Sunday morning shoot, whatever, but everybody's got that nemesis target, that crosser, that driven, that whatever it is. And I'm going to try my best, if I can, to give you a few tools so you can in effect self-police and get yourself understanding why you're missing, and then indeed in the hope of you fixing that and connecting with that target. As ever, we're at Hardened Shooting School today and keeping it superb with our brilliant partners, Ely Cartridge. Let's take a look at how we get on. So, approaching the nemesis target. Now remember, today's info, guidance, call it what you like, is based on practice. Okay, this is not for a competition. This is for you, on your own or with a mate, going out shooting, like I say, working on those targets that otherwise normally, would catch you out. Let's start with the basics. Okay, this is not groundbreaking, and a lot of you are probably going to be aware of this, but let's just start from the bottom up, so to speak. Foot position. Okay, this is absolutely key. Balance, body forward, that relates to the mount. Now it's still relevant if you're pre-mounted, because it's all about the body and the gun working and feeling sort of, as one. Balance, I say that word again. If you're half gun down or full gun down, obviously then it really is imperative that we've got that slight weight forward, the universal thing, the nose over toes, 1 and 2 if you're right-handed, 10 and 11 if you're left-handed, so on and so forth. That nice forward position then aids that gun coming up to the cheek, obviously lining the barrel with the eye, and then that's a really good start. Now that also relates to your hold kill points and pickup points. So remember, your feet, your body want to be lined up on that kill, okay? Coming back then to your hold, and then your eyes going to your pickup. Remember, there's some targets where pickup and hold can overlap. There's a nuance, right? But just to recap, feet correctly placed depending on your orientation, a little bit of weight forward, setting yourself up for a nice kill point, hold point, and having those eyes sharp, ready to pick up the target. So we're set up, okay, we're stood correctly, we're clear on our style, pre-mounted, half gun down, full gun down, doesn't matter. It's personal to you, but be clear in what you're doing. And let's imagine now we are set up in that said position. We talked about the hold point, the kill point, the pickup, obviously not in that order. Now, be absolutely clear on those. Again, look at the target, look at the line, look at the speed, and think about how you react to that. It doesn't matter what style you shoot, it's speed, timing. You might be someone who shoots swing through quite late and slow. You might be someone who shoots swing through really quickly right at the beginning. It's irrelevant, doesn't matter. It's all about you, the individual. But just be sure that how you're set up fits to how you work. So, i.e., as a quick example, if one has found the kill point, back to the hold point, and we're looking, waiting for our target, and as the target's released, we're pulling the gun back to the target to then exercise our given style. That would obviously suggest that your hold point is too open, too relaxed. Again, a tiny nuance, Practice will make perfect. Maybe you will pull the gun back a couple of times and then go, I better actually adjust my feet and so on. So just be aware that that setup is not just, oh yeah, I know the setup, that it really is absolutely sharp and on point so you can get the best results. So let's imagine you are now set up. We know the stance, we know the style, we've got our, hold points, everything's in place and the target's thrown and we miss it. Why did we miss it? Well, the interesting thing is that obviously this end is, as I see it, a little bit mechanical, relating to your style, right? Stance, mount, all the rest of it. The target is where it starts to become feel, because we don't measure lead, we don't really know the literal speed of the target. Some are slow, some are fast, but that's it. We've got no refined information. So how do we then work out to hit said target? Well, a thing that's sort of underestimated and sometimes overlooked is target reading. Now it sounds so utterly simple and oh yeah, that goes left to right, that does this, but actually really understanding the flight line of a particular target. And I think this is what catches most people out. Now your course setter, even though we're talking about practice here, he or she is going to try and catch you out with angles, speeds, size of clay, etc., etc. So actually really being aware of how to read said target, combined with your, technical self back here in your own style, is then the perfect synergy to start breaking clays. So think about line, think about speed. Everyone thinks that stuff's quite fast and that they've got to be aggressive. But 75%, 80% of the time is something very different. Target reading, understand the clay, understand the direction, understand the speed, and then relate that back to your gun, your muzzle speed, your movement, your style. Now, if you've got all this in place, you could still be missing the target. So let's have a think about, what that could be. For me, a thing I see most commonly is a dying muzzle speed. So forget approach, maintain, swing through, whatever, and indeed to a degree forget target, but just generally speaking, that people will, whichever style they shoot, robustly get behind on or in front of a target, give it the required movement, and then the muzzle starts to die off. Or worse still, they turn the trigger into a brake and it completely ducks off. And then they're looking, thinking, well, hold on a minute, I did my style, I did my muzzle speed, and I've still missed. It's a really subtle thing, and you might not even pick up on it yourself. That's why it's good to sometimes have a mate shooting. That's something I would absolutely be focused on. I think it's where most people fail. So be absolutely aware, and actually this comes down to focus, because ultimately confidence focus is almost like the sort of magic potion that makes all these other things come alive. If we're not committed, you can have all the stuff in line and everything else working, but it's not going to work properly. So you've got that focus, you've got that concentration, make sure that muzzle speed is consistent and that it only falls off after you've pulled the trigger and taken the shot. So there's muzzle speed. Let's think of muzzle speed in the sense of not relating to the target. Now most people will be too fast. Their muzzle speed's too fast. It's rarely slow. It's only slow if they, do what I've just talked about turning the trigger into a brake. But otherwise, most people's approach is aggressive and, it's got to have more lead. But it's not the case, or most of the time at least, okay? So be sure that that muzzle speed is continuous, consistent, and is maintained, as in the same speed as said target, or indeed fractionally faster if you're shooting swing through or pull away. So let's take an example target that someone might struggle with and how they get to that point where they, kill it. Let's take a crosser right to left for no reason. A trick that can be entertained, although I sort of like it, but I don't, is to actually operate your style with obviously this end being absolutely perfect, stance, yada, 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 feet, gun, style, mount, everything. And just say you can't hit that crosser. Start with a minimal lead, whatever it is. Don't get into measuring, just past it, shoot, miss. Next one, just past it a little bit more. And basically, incrementally, extend your lead until you connect. Now, it's sort of fun, it does work, and it's a nice sensation then when you break it, which feeds confidence, which in its own right is a really good thing. But what I want you to start thinking about and trying to get in your mind, and maybe it's a stepping stone to this, is actually using timing. Timing where you're moving that muzzle just a little bit quicker than the target, that sort of, you know, pendulum motion where the gun's a bit quicker than the clay. Now, obviously that doesn't relate to maintained because you're matching the speed of the clay, but then you don't have to shoot maintained on all targets. So, you know, all of this is conditioning, but ultimately, and most importantly, it's finding how you best shoot, you as an individual. Nothing to do with anybody else or how an instructor shoots or a top shot. Everybody's different. So there could be the tiny nuance from said right to left clay. You might have a dominant left eye, but you might be right shouldered. You know, and there's that chat about it comes into the non-dominant eye and you feel it's more lead and all that talk. Or bring your head round further, pick it up with the dominant eye, and then put your approach into practice. Tiny nuance, tiny detail, but put it into practice, take your time and see, you know, obvious comment, what works best for you. So as a final point, and actually really as an overview to the, you know, the previous points I've made, is when you are at that stand for that target, that you only make the changes or try to understand the fault, so you only make the changes to the parts that require change. So, example, someone can't shoot that right to left crosser, they maybe then go pre-mounted, or they move their feet, or they bend their leg, and they make these sort of huge changes, and actually what they're doing is disappearing off further down the lane of fail. Okay, and most of the time it is usually a micro change that just creates that magic, that brings everything together. Now, I'm going to repeat myself slightly, but there is a lead up to being able to do this, and that is having everything else in place. Yeah, so that the only thing that can fail is the, you know, the sort of last 3%. This is why people do drill. The stance has got to be absolutely on point. Okay, it has to be on point. I know it can adjust in direction, orientation, requiring to kill points, hold points, but it should be exactly the same, irrespective of, in effect, where it's pointing. Okay, the mount, which one are you? Don't change because you can't hit the target. The target's got nothing to do with the mount, largely speaking. Go on to a basic target, shoot it, find your style. Yeah, actually I like half gun down, slightly forward, done, on, bang, killed. Practice, drill, keep it moving. There's no such thing as muscle memory, but there's familiarity. Drill, 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 done. I'm happy with my stance. I'm happy with my style. I will add a little detail in there that obviously understanding all three styles, and there are a couple of sort of hybrids as well, can be quite useful for different targets. You know, if you've got a really fast target, maintained might be superior to swing through. If you've got a nice driven, swing through is obviously quite good, because with maintained you immediately blot out the bird, as an example. Okay, so you're basically ironing out all those what I call generic details, so then when you come up to said stand and target, that this is all right. We don't have to change this, we don't have to adjust it. This has got nothing to do with the target if it's right for you. It's probably going to be muzzle speed, continuous muzzle speed, or an over, you know, zealous muzzle speed, or it's going to be that you're doing everything correctly, so to speak, but you're not technically reading the target. So that thing that's coming out from right to left actually might have a slight bend in it. And you're coming through 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and actually the target's dropping down between 9 and 8 o'clock. It could be as subtle as that. So just be sure, get everything tidy first, work on the basic targets, work on the targets that you know, naturally feel happy with. Get this solid, get this set, then go on to the difficult one, the nemesis, and gently, subtle change or two, and I'm sure you will find success.
So today's competition tip is all about gun fit, which is arguably the most important thing that we need to consider when we're shooting. We want to take out as many variables as possible and make sure that everything is going to be consistent as possible when we're pulling the trigger. So making sure that your gun fit is checked minimum once a year is really, really important. We all change shape and size, especially after Christmas when we've maybe had too much chocolate. And so we need to make sure that we're getting that checked as often as possible to make sure that it is still fitting us and that the gun is going to be shooting exactly where we want it to be. Having a stock made is one of the most ideal ways to make sure that your gun fit is going to be absolutely spot on for you. We're all different shapes and sizes and they are so personal. However, the most important thing to consider here is making sure that your gun mount is as consistent as possible beforehand, because your stock will be dependent on that.
From breaking targets to breaking stories, you're now watching Clay Shooter TV News. Devon and Cornwall Police and Dorset Police firearms units are being separated following a survey. Dorset Police and Crime Commissioner David Sidgwick commented, "This change will bring about greater local control and accountability and more flexibility to deal with the needs of local communities. Both I and the Chief Constable believe that bringing back separate units will result in an improved service to the Dorset public and businesses." You can read this story in full via the link below the video. The Express Sport Track Masters kicks off at Richard Falls' Hampshire ground on the 25th of July. Owls Lodge is a fantastic place to shoot and the Sport Track Masters is pre-booking only, so be sure to get your entry in if you haven't already. Over in Gloucestershire, the Ian Coley Classic kicks off on the 19th of July. This 120 target sporting competition offers cash prizes down to 6th place in all classes, with cash plus Fiocchi cartridges up for grabs in each category. And staying on the theme of great sporting competitions, it's now time for our Beretta World special.
Okay, so I've walked around the shoot today here at the Beretta World 2023. I've had a beautiful lunch, I've had time to sit down and relax, and now I'm joined by GMK head honcho Karl Waktare. And we're going to have a little conversation today just on a few points about the show and the greater beyond. Hello sir.
Hi there.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
I've had a brilliant day today and I think, well, I know the whole team have, Andy and Dino, and there's been some great shooting, some incredible missing, lots of laughs, and actually I've forgotten her name now, the lovely lady from Ian Coley shot beautifully on some real taxi plays. I think she's been surprised herself. How long has this Beretta World been running as a shoot?
Since 1987, I think, was the first year. So it was sort of set up in the booming 80s when, I think back in those days, some people would even go and buy their first Beretta just to shoot it. Yeah, it was nothing to do with me at the beginning.
And that would have been my favourite gun, the 686S, yeah, of the era.
Could be, yeah.
And where were those first shows held? Because I think you've had this in one or two locations throughout the years.
Yeah, I think the first ones were at Apsley for a few years, and then it moved to Roundwood Shooting Ground, which used to be run by GMK back in the early 90s and so on, and then moved on to West London, and then into the Meon Valley, and a couple of places there, and so we tend to have it a couple of years in a location, and then move it around, keep it fresh.
I was going to say, the idea of changing location, is that literally to keep it exciting for the shooter, you know, sort of what's the word I'm looking for, sort of you know, layout of ground, be it manicured or be it agricultural, topography, that's the word I'm looking for, that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we found like Meon Springs was the, you know, the famous one for a long time.
Yes.
They shot over a lot of water, and the but you know, people, if they shoot at a venue for too many times, they eventually have a bad round, and then you know, then they associate that a little bit with the venue and so on. So this way we try and keep it moving. So and also we can make it easier for certain people who are coming from further away. You know, so you know, this one is quite a long way southwest, but.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful place, as you can see, so
Stunning.
we had to take it.
Yeah. And who's the shoot designed for? You know, who can enter the shoot? What do you think the demographic of the shoot is?
Yeah, I mean,
or rather, what is it, and who is it available to? So,
well, it's an open shoot, you know, but it has got that difference that you've got to shoot a Beretta to come here. So, I think a lot of the Beretta shooters feel it's their shoot, so it's not so much of a, you know, we get a lot of B and C class shooters here, and we try and set the course accordingly, and you know, we just want people to have a good time. We try and keep the costs down as low as we can, yeah, just we have our gunsmith here as well, so if they've got a gun here, we can, as long as it's simple repair or a quick check over, we can do that on site. So yeah, it's a great way of interacting with, you know, our shooters and showing them, you know, if we've got a new gun, we can show them a few of those as well.
I mean, even today being, you know, in effect a guest day, I know the actual competition kicks off proper, I think, on Friday and runs for 3 days. Even today, there's a cross section of people. There's clearly people that shoot really well, people that don't shoot much at all, and everything in between. Would it be fair to say for anybody watching that it is open to all levels of shooting? Obviously it's based around the Beretta brand, of course, but I get the impression that you know, novices would feel very comfortable here.
Yeah, we try and, you know, just try and ask the course designer to beat people by clever targets rather than by distance, really. So yes, I think most people, as you saw today, there's a lot of relatively new shooters here who, and you know, we have this sort of sponsors day is what it really is, but we also use it as a way of checking that the scores are, you know, it's not too challenging, and you know, I get to shoot it myself as well, so you know.
Dare I ask? Okay, I won't. Based on the layout you've got for this year's competition, high gun, 120 being the full bag, what's your prediction, just for fun?
Yeah, I'm constantly amazed at how well people shoot these days, you know, and a top shooter on his day, you know, I would be surprised if it's more than 116 or something like that, but you know, because there are no ridiculous targets out there, are there? But there's a consistent level of stands where it's very easy to miss a target.
Yes, yeah, I think personally, I think it's really well thought out. I think it's more sort of technical rather than, you know, necessarily big or fast. You could almost be tricked into thinking it's easier than what it is. So I think it's a real thinking man or woman's shoot indeed. But that's interesting. So your guess maybe, or just stab, would be, you know, you think a 115, 116 would be.
That's usually where it's at. I mean, last year I think it was a 118, which was just a crazy score. But you know, that, as I say, some of those top guys, you know, on their day can just shoot outstanding scores, can't they? Yeah.
Well, I think the lovely thing is, I think, you know, for the hardened shooter, there's everything here to test. I think for the more, you know, relaxed general shooter, it's a sum of its parts. It's great location, you know, lovely catering, lovely team. I mean, you know, it is true, sum of its parts. It's beautifully put together. But Karl, look, I mean, I think that brings it to an end. I think really the idea is for people to come, you know, to the Beretta Worlds, you know, and come and try it, come and get involved, come and try it out. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We've all had a wonderful day today. and I hope it's a huge success this year. I'm sure it will be, and carries on for a lot longer.
Thank you for coming as well, and thank you to the Field Sports Press as well and Clay Shooter TV for their support of the event, which is really valued and helpful.
Well, I think that's set, so thank you.
Brilliant. Thank
Cheers.
you.
All the best.
What a superb day, thanks to Beretta and GMK. And for more information on any of the events mentioned today, check out the links below the video. But now, let's head over to Drennan for his gun and gear reviews.
Good morning, welcome to Oak Edge. Today we're filming a Yildiz Pro, but it's a case hardened action and it's also the fixed choke model. They do a multi-choke model, but this one is fixed choke and it's the 32-inch barrel. They do 28, 30 and 32. This particular one has the grade 6 adjustable stock on it, the standard Yildiz recoil pad, which really does actually work. It soaks up recoil lovely. It's got a lovely palm swell on it, nice tight radius grip. The usual features you get from Yildiz, boss style action. A lot of people think these are Parazzis. They're not a Parazzi. However, I will say this though, since they first came into the country a few years ago, Yildiz did have a bit of a like, but I can tell you now, as an engineer, the quality of their guns now is getting better and better and better. You've only got to listen to that action. It's beautiful. Again, it looks like a Parazzi, but it isn't. Doesn't shoot like a Parazzi either. Now, fixed choke, most people will look at that and go, oh, that's a trap gun. Well, it isn't a trap gun. You could set it for trap, sort of. But you can get this as a trap gun, and which is what I would say you would do if you're going to shoot trappers, just to change the stock and put a proper trap stock on it. However, you could do it with this particular adjustable stock as well. As I said, 32-inch barrels, double ventilated, hatched, tapered rib, matte black barrels, fibre optic sights, laser cut checkering both on the stock and the fore ends. And you'll see when we do some close-ups, the case hardening on this is absolutely stunning. It really is stunning. Top lever as well, and the tang for the stock, it's all in that case hardened style. Yildiz has really made a nice job of this. It looks like a gun that would be a lot more money, and I can say that if it was an Italian one, we'd be looking at probably 14,000 quid. These start around about the 2,500 and then go up depending on whether you have fixed choke or the multi-choke version. Today we're going to shoot a variety of targets here at Oak Edge. Because this is choke 3/4 and full, I'm going to shoot some long range with it as well, and some close stuff, so that you can see that you can shoot this on sporting as well as trap. In fact, to be quite honest with you, you could shoot this on nearly all the disciplines. I've shot these before. They're a very versatile gun for doing nearly all the disciplines that are out there. When I say nearly all, I do mean nearly all. Olympic stuff, no, not really, but that's a whole different thing. So you can see what it's like now. It's snable fore end, it's nice and slim, and the balance of it when it comes up, and this is what I prefer about these fixed choke barrels, is they're a lot slimmer. And you'll notice, and it's not just Yildiz on their multi-choke system, a lot of the manufacturers, when they're doing multi-chokes, they're really bulbous, front end heavy, like, oh my god, like almost like an afterthought. These barrels are fantastic. Like I said, it's fixed choke, nothing to stop you having it bored out if you wanted to keep it fixed choke and have more open chokes, or you could send it away and say somebody like T could T-choke it. But anyway, we're going to put it through its paces, and then I'm going to give you a conclusion after what I really think about it. So we'll see you on the next segment. Whoa. That was the 21 gram, straight into competition rounds now, which is what this gun's designed to do anyway. So we're straight into Power Gold, which is, as you know, proper competition cartridge. So, what's my conclusion of the Yildiz Adjustable Pro Fixed Choke? Well, I'm going to start off with what we've shot. We started off on a left to right, very close incoming clay. So that was, for me, that's what I call like a bayonet shot, just going straight to it. Performed absolutely flawless there. The next stand, we had two different targets there. We had a left to right coming over the shoulder, which was also dropping at the same time. So pulling through it, or swinging through it really, but also dialing in a bit of lead underneath and collapsing that when it came into the picture. So we're diving the barrels, collapsing the lead so it pointed exactly, quite easily where I wanted it to go. Followed by a right to left, belly facing crosser, which we used a pull away method on that. Then we went on to the next stand and shot top end of 50s, probably more 60 yard, right to left crosser. I think it was lost kill loss, and then I started really working well with the gun using the Supremes on there, the Express Supremes, these one. Found it quite racy at the front at the start. You really got to watch what you're doing, you know, you got to slow your core work down with that. But again, within 4 shots, I was dialed in and away it went. Then we went on and we shot a right to left orange clay, and every one of them, if the cameras picked it up, all right to left using the swing through method, and every one of them was totally different. So still swung through it, but some of them dived really fast, and again, as you see that from experience, pushed the gun in and the gun went and followed it. So that tells you a lot about how the barrel swing. Very nice, very smooth. And then we finished off on a rabbit, again what I call a bayonet to the front edge. I always shoot front edge on a rabbit. You hear people say they shoot the back, but I tend to, controversially, shoot a rabbit with one eye closed, because if I don't, I end up shooting in front, and I can't shoot behind a target that's moving. It's really difficult. So yeah, so we've done quite a lot of different styles there, and it performed really well. It's quite outstanding really. I do though want to cover the couple of negatives. There's only a couple. Go back to the safety. The safety, yeah, it works, it's functional, it does exactly what it's supposed to do, but it's just a bit, it's like, I don't know, it's like the metal's just like come out of the scrap metal bin. Could have done with just tidying up a bit nicer, a bit more refined. The wood, although it's nicely grained, lovely figure on it, shoots really well, comes up lovely. Nice tight pull you can do on this. But it could really do with just being finished off that bit about, what about the finish of the wood, you know, whether you're going to oil it or lacquer it. But, and equally saying that, this is, you know, around about a £3,000 mark, this particular one, and the equivalent that most people are going to use from an Italian manufacturer is about £11,000 more. So for a couple of £100 you could get that absolutely spot on. So the rest of the gun, for how much this is priced at, and for what I've just done with it, value for money, is really going to take a lot of beating. Got a 5-year warranty, 3-inch chambers, high performance steel proofed, flight case, and it's a really nice case actually. It's their luxury edition. Adjustable stock, and that is, it's so easy to adjust. See, some of these are a bit complicated and they're a bit faffy. This is really simple to do. The case hardening, as I said in the beginning, is just outstanding. It's some of the best case hardening look I've ever seen really on a gun, especially at this price. So overall, it's a great competition gun. If you're good enough, you could get on the podium with this. Is it an Olympic level gun? No, not really. Back to one thing that I would like to see though on these, and I keep mentioning this, the trigger, you can't adjust the length of pull. So the length of pull from there to there is set, and really, you know, come on, you don't buy a car and you can't adjust the seat. You're talking about competition guns. I'd want to see that and an adjustable trigger. Other than that, I'm pretty sure I could shoot this at quite a high level. It's really good. We've used a range of ammo, 21 gram Fiocchi, B&P, Express Power Gold, which is the main shell I would use for competition shooting, especially on this sort of spotter, and then right up to the big daddies of Supreme, Express Supreme, and as you'll see from the footage, it knocks out that long crosser, no problem at all. So overall, A really nice gun at a really ridiculously priced, to be quite honest. So that's my review of the Yildiz Pro adjustable fixed choke, and I'll see you again. So today's cartridge review is Fiocchi's F Black Fibre, and doesn't it just look stunning straight away? What does the box tell you? Doesn't tell you what's inside really, but I will say this, I don't know how the Italians do it, but they just make everything look so cool. And then they put it in a cool case like this, solid black, 16mm ferrule, silver print, you can actually read it, like some cartridges have been smudged. Now I've actually shot these a few years ago, and I shot them at Thimbley, Coniston, Akin Granton Lang, Oxford, Holland and Holland, and I did really well with them. I was very impressed, and I'm going to tell you a little unknown fact about the F Black range. A lot of people don't know this, and I didn't, but I wrote about it I think last year in one of the magazines, to say the F Black was actually designed to have that bit more punch than the F Blue. And the reason behind that is because the team at Fiocchi designed the F Black series to really go through semi-autos, and that's what I'm going to put it through today. I'm going to put it through my UGB, which you've all seen before, is my brake action Beretta semi-auto. And I'm going to show you, hopefully, if I'm good enough, just how good these are. And I'll see you in the next segment. So, what's my conclusion of Fiocchi's F Black Fibre in shot size number 8? I really like them, and I'll tell you why I like them. They are designed for an auto, and you do get that extra zing which drives the working parts on an auto. Also, I've shot these in an over and under, and if you're one of them shooters that likes that particular bit more recoil or the oomph, these are ideal. If that's how you want to feed your brain with that sort of shooting. Some people are the opposite, they'd rather shoot something softer. These are ideal for it. We shot a range of targets, the camera footage will show you. We've shot 50, high 50 yard, more like 60 yard crosser with a 3/4 choke, number 8 fibre, blew that up, absolutely convincing about that. Then I shot a variety of targets. We've shot some chandelle, we've shot some quartering, different styles, rabbits. The footage will show you as well. They work lovely. They are very crisp though, so if you are looking for a muzzle that just stays very static on an over and under, this might be a little bit much. But if you're not and you're into that and you've got a heavy over and under like a Krieghoff or something like that, these are absolutely brilliant. Will these take on anything out there? Yeah, I really do think they will actually. Well, I've proven it. We've shot them out here. Anything above what we've shot is a bit ridiculous and shouldn't even be on a CPSA registered shoot anyway. I would have the confidence of going anywhere in the UK, in fact the world, with these on a shoot that's a registered shoot, any of the shoots around the world, and these will tackle it. I'm very impressed with it. It does exactly what the Italians at Fiocchi have designed it to do, and I just can't pick any faults with it at all. It is a shell that I will go to time and time again, especially with it being fibre. So if you're on the ground, it's only fibre only, and you're looking for something that's got that real go, and it has got some go in it, it is going to punch out there. So it's not your club shell, it really is a full competition cartridge, and I really like it. And if you're in for that, that's what I would go for. Fiocchi F Black in fibre, number 8, brilliant. And on that note, I'll see you again.
That's it for today. hope you enjoyed the show, and don't forget to check out our Facebook page for information on the next episode.